Hounds Ahoy, Episode 3, and we're still in Grand Bahama at this point. The hounds, as usual, love their walks. There was certainly plenty of walking to be had. We went into the small town a couple of times, but generally we tended to go around the local streets and of course to the beach. Max is happy doing his own thing, but of course Joe loves the interaction. Dave. Not the calmest day on the sea.
Sometimes it rains in the Bahamas, but other times, and most of the time, it's bright and hot and sunny.
Hounds out on another walk. This time Joe got a little bit confused because he knows that turning left out of this road takes you to the beach. And that's where he'd much rather be.
Walking on the roads often helps shorten claws, as most of the time the dogs tend to play on the beach.
So this is Noels Marine, where we parked for a couple of weeks, getting repairs done. As you can see, a good selection of boats in there, some tied down for hurricanes. And this is the massive boat lift that lifted our Sunseeker out of the water in order for us to have a look at the propellers and get one of them repaired.
The jetty that we were moored to had some large gaps in the middle, and Joe was quite cautious of this. He wasn't fond of it at all, so he used to spread his toes as he walked across just to make sure all his weight was being evenly placed. I think he thought it wasn't safe.
But he really didn't like walking along this. We've come across several since, and he's exactly the same. Must spread the toes. At this stage the boys were still getting used to the Passerelle. Max was quite a brave boy. Joe was a little bit unsure on this one. And although they'd been on and off the Passerelle probably 50 times each, he still wants to take a shortcut. Luckily we've only had to fish him out of the water once. Charlton Knowles is the owner of Noels Marine, really nice, helpful guy, and after the first few days he found time to come out with me and we did a sea trial to see what was going on with the propellers. We hadn't left dock since we'd arrived, so it was a bit of a test. And unfortunately we did find half an hour later that there was bad news. There was a lot of vibration at pretty much all rev positions. So a couple of days later, it was time to bring the boat out. This was a very scary thing, although they've done it many times, but seeing your 30-ton boat lifted out of the water and then onto concrete is quite scary, but interesting to actually see underneath, and it was actually relatively clean. These are the exhausts, underwater lights, and here's our propeller. It's perhaps difficult to tell from the picture, but one of these blades is actually quite twisted in the wrong way. So Charlton and his guys took a hammer to it and straightened it out. Getting the propeller off was quite a challenge. And here you can see some of the damage that we incurred while hitting and bouncing off the rocks on the inlet. The vast majority of them are only surface scratches, so it's not too bad. You can see here the underwater lights, which at that point weren't working, but subsequently I found the wires that actually control them and they're now working. So another problem that we had, apart from the propeller, was the port engine wouldn't start. So we checked the batteries, every single battery terminal came off, and one of Charlton's guys, a guy called Italian, took them all off, cleaned them all up, put them back, and then the port engine started. This is where we first got the water maker out of the box that we'd picked up in Fort Lauderdale, you'll remember from the last episode. Joe thinking he can help, but without opposing thumbs I think he's going to struggle. As you can see, lots of components, but slowly got my head around putting them together. Although delivered in individual parts, they're all beautifully numbered, and you just match up the numbers and it all goes together nicely. So basically the water goes in, the seawater goes in at the primer pump, then gets fed through two filters, a 10 micron and then a 5 micron, then into the high pressure pump. That then goes into the single membrane, which filters out the seawater under pressure, and then you have two output hoses. One discharges the excess seawater back into the sea, and the white one here produces beautiful fresh drinking water. This was quite fun. We wondered what on earth this Icebox was doing floating around the marina, and it turned out, as you can just about see in a second, a flipper comes out of the water, and it was a guy fishing for lobsters in the marina. And this is Charlton, who I'm still in touch with now. Great guy, highly recommend his services. So after a couple of weeks of Charlton and his guys doing assorted boat repairs for us, it was time to set sail to other parts of the Bahamas. There's the dreaded inlet, which is very shallow. So as you can imagine, we picked high tide before we left. It wasn't a bad journey, a little bit choppy, but we got through it. Certainly a lot better than our Gulf crossing. And eventually we arrived at Great Harbour Cay Marina, which was really pretty. They have a lovely bay for anchoring outside the marina, and then here's the marina itself on a beautiful calm day. Very friendly people here, And we met a couple of really nice boaters as well, who we hope to catch up with before too long. At this end of the marina there's also a guy who catches fresh fish every day and lobster and sells them at quite reasonable prices. So it was here at Great Harbour Cay Marina that Alex first started baking bread. And boy did she do a good job. And I can confirm that it tastes as good as it looks. There's definitely something about the smell of freshly baked bread. The hounds enjoyed lots of great walks while we were at Great Harbour Cay, and this is on the other side of the island, the ocean side, which was a relatively calm day. We walked for maybe 1.5 miles to get to this beach, which as you can see, Max is really enjoying. And it being halfway through February, it only seemed reasonable to do this. With the boys' help, of course. Max is such a helpful boy. Joe was not impressed. Next time on Hounds Ahoy, we find out where they store all the conch shells after they've removed the conch.
We dropped the anchor for the first time.
And we get to Nassau. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You can also follow us on Facebook, on Twitter and on Instagram.